Imagine walking into a boutique that once sold dreams for $5,000, only to find racks of once coveted handbags gathering dust, their monograms faded from overexposure. Luxury that once whispered power now shouts desperation. From the golden heyday of Gucci and Louis Vuitton to the must-have bags of Dior and Michael Kors, these brands once defined status, style, and aspiration. A single logo could open doors to exclusive parties, Mediterranean vacations, and circles where money spoke in hushed tones. Now, clearance racks, price drops, resale markets flooded with once prized items that nobody wants anymore. How did this happen so fast? Was it oversaturation, creative misfires, or simply a generational shift in what desire actually means? Tonight, we're counting down 8 high-end brands whose future is in jeopardy. Some iconic, some surprising, all struggling. Each brand tells a story, glory, missteps, and lessons for anyone fascinated by the hidden mechanics of luxury culture. By the end, you'll see patterns that explain not just a single downfall, but a seismic shift across the entire luxury landscape. And trust us, number 1 will shock you. It's a brand that once defined aspiration for millions, but is now a cautionary tale of how status, perception, and desire can crumble almost overnight. Let's begin. Ver 8. Capri Holdings, Michael Kors, Versace, Jimmy Choo. Michael Kors bags were everywhere. Airport terminals, suburban malls, Instagram feeds. For years, they represented attainable prestige, the entry point to luxury for millions who couldn't afford Hermes. Versace added exotic Mediterranean allure. Jimmy Choo reigned on celebrity red carpets. Together, under Capri Holdings, they seemed unstoppable. Then, the floor dropped. Revenue plummeted roughly 21%. Versace, once the crown jewel acquisition, is now being planned for sale at a loss. Resale prices are dipping so low that second-hand Michael Kors bags can't even find buyers on discount. Platforms? What happened? Identity confusion. When you acquire 3 brands with distinct personalities and try to trend chase without coherence, the result is chaos. Michael Kors chased Gen Z with loud collaborations. Versace wavered between maximalism and minimalism. Jimmy Choo faded into background noise. The emotional shift was brutal. Aspiration was replaced by overfamiliarity. Owning a Michael Kors bag no longer felt exclusive. It felt like everyone's aunt had one. It became the candy wrapper everyone's seen 1,000 times. The overplayed song that never stops repeating on every radio station, in every store, until you can't stand hearing it anymore. Capri Holdings learned the hard way. Accessibility without mystique is just mass production in disguise. But Capri isn't the only label struggling. Others show that even centuries of heritage don't guarantee immunity from collapse. The 7. Gucci. Gucci was once untouchable. Bold prints, celebrity culture dominance. Alessandro. Michelle's maximalist vision turned the brand into a cultural phenomenon. It was Kering's crown jewel, the profit engine that funded everything else. Then the magic faded. Sales dropped roughly 25%. First quarter revenue slumped. Market analysts started questioning whether Gucci could ever reclaim its throne. The maximalist aesthetic that once felt revolutionary now felt exhausting. Here's the truth. Gucci became a victim of its own ubiquity. When every influencer, every celebrity, every aspirational buyer wore the same interlocking G's, the status symbol turned predictable. The cool factor eroded. It went from whisper to shout, from insider secret to mainstream spectacle. Creative inconsistency didn't help. After Michelle's departure, the brand struggled to find a cohesive voice. Trend fatigue set in. The audience that once clamored for Gucci loafers and Dionysus bags simply moved on. Even blue-chip stocks lose their mojo when the market shifts. Gucci learned that cultural relevance is more fragile than quarterly earnings. The brand that once defined bold luxury now faces an identity crisis it can't logo its way out of. If Gucci's fall shocks you, wait until we see the effect on heritage British icons. Number 6. Burberry represented classic British luxury, trench coats, heritage check patterns, royal warrants. For over a century, it symbolized timeless elegance that transcended trends. Then it tried to become something it wasn't. Profits slumped roughly 40%. Global sales weakened. Share prices became volatile. Investors panicked as the brand hemorrhaged cultural cachet faster than it could rebrand. What went wrong? Identity drift? Burberry over-modernized, chasing streetwear collaborations and logo-heavy designs that diluted its core DNA. The brand that once whispered classic and aspirational started shouting everywhere. When you see Burberry checks on every high street knockoff, on discount outlet racks, on items that feel more fast fashion than slow luxury, the exclusivity vanishes. It's like watching a blue-chip stock cut its dividends, or hearing an overplayed song get remixed into oblivion until even the original melody feels cheap. Burberry forgot the golden rule. Heritage brands survive by honoring what made them legendary, not by abandoning it for trends. The trench coat still exists, the check still appears, but the emotional weight, that intangible feeling of "I've arrived," has faded into background noise. Oversaturation wasn't limited to British brands. Even French houses felt the sting. For 5. Louis Vuitton. The name alone once carried mythical weight. Those brown monogram canvases represented global status, aspirational access, the dream of luxury made tangible. Walk through any airport, any luxury district, any Instagram feed in the 2010s, and you'd see LV everywhere. It was the most recognizable logo on the planet. Then it became too recognizable. LVMH's leather goods division saw revenue drop roughly 9%. Brand growth slowed. The younger generation, Gen Z collectors with different taste hierarchies, started moving on. Logo fatigue set in like a slow creeping disease. When every influencer, every aspirational buyer, every person saving for their first luxury piece chose the same never-full tote or speedy bag, the treasure became common. It went from rare artifact to luxury fast food. Logos on every street corner, monograms so ubiquitous they lost their mystique. The emotional shift was profound. What once felt like "I made it" now felt like "I bought what everyone else bought." Hyperpricing didn't help. As Louis Vuitton raised prices aggressively, the value proposition crumbled. Paying $2,000 for a canvas bag everyone already owns? The math stopped adding up. Even legacy doesn't protect you when scarcity dies. Here's the truth that connects all 8 brands. The real culprit isn't one bad decision. It's luxury fatigue, oversaturation, logo overuse, price, inflation, trend chasing without soul. Together, they created a market where desire outpaced meaning, where status symbols became so visible they lost their power. Even the most iconic names risk becoming background noise when exclusivity transforms into mass visibility. Think about it. When Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Burberry, and Dior became aspirational for everyone, they stopped being aspirational for anyone. The wealthy moved toward quiet luxury. Loro Piana, Brunello Cucinelli, The Row. Brands that whisper rather than shout. The aspirational buyers got exhausted by price hikes and sameness. The middle dissolved. If you're deep into this breakdown and want to see which brands might rebound and which are doomed, hit like and subscribe. Because the story isn't over, and the brands ahead show just how fragile even the greatest empires can be. Let's continue. 4. Dior once embodied haute couture mystique, the bar jacket, the Lady Dior bag, a legacy of elegance that felt both attainable and aspirational. depending on which tier you accessed. Cultural relevance was undeniable. Pricing power seemed infinite. The brand could charge whatever it wanted because the desire was real. Then something shifted. Brand value declined. Sales resistance emerged. Customers started questioning whether Dior was worth the increasingly aggressive price hikes. Here's what happened. Dior became a victim of its own ambition. Creative inconsistency across collections made the brand feel scattered. Price increases, sometimes 20–30% year over year, outpaced the emotional value customers felt they were receiving. Once coveted couture started feeling unattainable in the wrong way. Not exclusive, not special, just expensive. It's like buying an expensive ETF with disappointing returns. You're paying premium prices but getting diminishing emotional dividends. The bags still sell. The shows still happen. But that intangible magic, the feeling that owning Dior meant something beyond the logo, has faded. When luxury stops feeling like a dream and starts feeling like a transaction, desire dies quietly. From Dior's struggle to rockstar cool gone mainstream, Saint Laurent tells a similar story. Chart 3. Saint Laurent was edge personified, minimal, edgy, iconic rock and roll luxury that felt dangerous and cool simultaneously. Hedi Slimane's vision in the 2010s transformed YSL into the brand every fashion-forward buyer craved. The Kate bag, the leather jackets, the androgynous silhouettes that defined a generation's aesthetic. Then the edge dulled. Sales declined roughly 8%. Aspirational buyer enthusiasm faded. The brand that once felt cutting edge started feeling predictable. Overexposure killed the mystique. When Saint Laurent bags appeared on every influencer's arm, when the aesthetic became copy-pasted across fast fashion, the cool factor evaporated. It drifted from the edge of cool into generic mainstream fashion, from trendsetter to trend follower. Think of it like premium pizza that's just meh. The ingredients are still quality, the branding is still there. But that special something, that reason you'd wait in line and pay extra, has vanished. Saint Laurent went from whisper to shout, and in doing so, lost the very audience that made it legendary. Even the eternal icons can't resist a slowdown. Chanel is next. Number 2. Chanel. The name alone carries centuries of luxury DNA. Timeless haute couture, the 2.55 bag, the tweed jackets, the interlocking C's that represented the universal symbol of aspirational elegance. For decades, Chanel seemed immune to trends, downturns, and cultural shifts. It was the untouchable icon. But even icons plateau. Market contraction tempered purchase intent. Growth slowed relative to the boom years. Cultural relevance, while still strong, began showing micro fissures. Younger buyers started questioning whether Chanel represented their values, their aesthetics, their version of luxury. The brand is still powerful, still profitable, still prestigious, but it's no longer as untouchable as it once felt. Status remains strong, but the emotional weight has shifted. When everyone from influencers to aspirational buyers to wealthy collectors owns Chanel, the exclusivity diminishes by degrees. It's become a slow-growth blue chip, classic wine that everyone now owns. Still good, still valuable, but no longer the rarest bottle in the cellar. Chanel's challenge isn't collapse. It's maintaining mystique in an era of hyper-visibility, and that might be harder than survival itself. And finally, the brand whose fall, or survival, will shock even seasoned collectors. 101. Prada, top of this fragile batch. Prada was a fashion visionary. The nylon backpacks of the 90s, the minimalist elegance of the 2000s, the intellectual luxury that felt cerebral rather than ostentatious. In the mid-2020s, Prada experienced a resurgence, collaborations, cultural moments, a return to relevance that made it feel unstoppable again. But here's the twist. Prada's position at number 1 isn't about being immune. It's about being the least fragile among giants. Growth has slowed compared to its previous supercycle. Cultural hype feels limited compared to competitors. McKinsey noted Prada's resilience, but acknowledged its niche relevance is being challenged. Prada went from trailblazing trendsetter to steady, quiet player. From volatile stock everyone watches to steady bond generating modest returns. It's the limited edition print that's still selling, but not flying off shelves the way it once did. Here's why Prada ranks first. It never oversaturated. It maintained relative scarcity. It didn't logo plaster everything. It respected its audience's intelligence. But that same restraint means Prada lacks the explosive growth and cultural omnipresence that once defined luxury dominance. Prada shows the fine line between survival and collapse in luxury culture. It's holding steady while others crumble. But steady isn't the same as thriving. This ranking reveals a stark truth about luxury culture. Exclusivity isn't just about price, and prestige isn't eternal. Oversaturation and brand fatigue can erode desirability faster than any economic downturn. Consumers now demand subtlety, story, and scarcity. The brands that survive will embrace quiet luxury, limited releases, understated branding, and authentic heritage rather than flashy logos screaming for attention. Future predictions? Expect the rise of under-the-radar labels, small batch collections, secondary market arbitrage where savvy collectors profit from brand missteps. Logos will shrink. Mystique will matter more than monograms. And the supercycle of hyper-visible luxury may finally collapse under its own weight. Even icons like Louis Vuitton and Chanel will need careful recalibration to retain relevance. Burberry must rediscover its British soul. Gucci needs creative consistency. Dior must justify its pricing. Saint Laurent needs to reclaim its edge. The takeaway? In a world obsessed with status, the luxury landscape is becoming Darwinian. Only the brands that adapt, innovate, and respect scarcity will thrive in the next decade. Every collector, influencer, and aspirational buyer now has the power to shape the next hierarchy. Your choices determine which brands rise and which fade into obscurity. The luxury game has changed, and the old rules no longer apply. If you want more insider luxury analysis and the brands poised to rise while these giants fall, subscribe and join us on Lux Crisis, your front row seat to the hidden drama behind every label, every logo, every brand fighting for survival in the new luxury era.